next challenge in the 8 Cayuse series is called Transportation on Vacation. The instructions read, after a hard quarter in the office, you decide to get some rest on a vacation. So you'll book a flight for you and your girlfriend and try to leave all the mess behind you. You will need a rental car in order for you to get around. The manager of the car rental makes you some good offers. Every day you rent the car costs $40. If you rent the car for 7 or more days, you get $50 off your total. Alternatively, if you rent the car for 3 or more days, you get $20 off your total. Write a code that gives out the total amount for different days. So you're basically returning a price. They're providing you with a number of days to possibly rent the car for, and you're sort of returning the price. It's like a quote, right? So I think you have enough, the mathematical operators, you know how to create variables and return things. So I think most people should be equipped this would be a good one to pause and for everybody to try. I'll give you a second to do that, and then we'll get started. So I'm going to do a little bit of extra work just to show some things about classes and best practices. So I'm going to, well, it seems like a little bit more typing. I'm going to create some private members of this rental car class. Once I change it, it's not CATA, it's a rental car. And so I'm going to make up some constants to hold these values from the description. So I'll have like a daily rate, a 7-day discount, and a 3-day discount. And then I can refer to those constant values when I'm making my calculation. Again, it's a pretty simple calculation here. You don't have to do this, but hopefully I demonstrate that it reads nicely and I can prove to you some of the benefits of doing it this way. So since these constants are only for my purposes for calculating a cost, nobody outside of rental car even needs to know about them, I'm going with the private access modifier. If you can make something private, do it. Remember, we want that small public interface that makes your classes easier to work with. So private, again, will be static. We've talked about that. This doesn't pertain to any specific rental car. The fields I'm making will apply to all rental cars. I'm making them read only because I'm looking at this problem as the values not needing to change, but if you wanted to make them variable, you can omit this read only like you've seen in the past. Oops. But I'm going to use it because mine are going to be constants. And then finally the variable type, I'll use integer, and I'll say cost per day, we'll call it. And notice I'm using capital letters separated by underscores instead of the usual lowercase and camel casing. That's just a common practice with constant values. It gives you, when you're skimming code, when you see those capital letters, it's just a quick indication that, hey, this value isn't supposed to change. And I'll call that 40, like from the instructions. And I'm just going to copy this line because I'm going to make a couple more of these. I'm going to have the 7-day discount, and that was $50, right? You get to take $50 off your total. And we'll do another one for the 3 or more day rate, which I'm just calling 3-day discount. And if you have better names for these, go ahead and do that. That was 20. And speaking of better names, remember, you're free to rename these parameters, these arguments. Why not call it days what it is? It's more clear than just D. So we've got that, we've got these constants. I think now we can go ahead and look at implementing this. So first, my strategy for this is going to be to calculate what I'll call the base cost, which is just a straight up the daily rate times the number of days. And then I'll look if the amount of days qualifies for a discount, and if it does, I'll subtract that discount off of the base cost. So I'm going to create a local variable, I'll call it cost, and that's going to be the cost per day times the number of days, right? That should be simple enough, right? If a car costs $40 and you have it for 7 days, then you take the 40 times 7, and that's your base cost, right? But we could have discounts apply, so let's handle that next. We will use the conditional statements that you've seen by now. If, and I'm going to start with the most days. The highest discount available here is for 7 or more. Notice that it includes 7, so I didn't say just greater than, I said greater than or equal to 7. Both cases apply to the discount. And if that condition is met, I'll say take the cost and subtract from it the 7-day discount. And again, you could have just put minus equals 50 here, right? And not use this variable name. But this reads a lot nicer, right? They call that magic variable sometimes if you just throw numbers around everywhere, and it's not clear to other people who come read your code when you've got a lot of these things floating around. It's like, what do they mean by 50? What does 50 represent? This is very clear in what it represents. And if this part is bothering you, this is just a shorthand for writing. I could have done it like this. Cost equals cost minus 7-day discount. These are the same, and you'd probably agree that the top one is better. It's shorter without sacrificing clarity, in my opinion. So we've got that, right? So anywhere 7 days, 100 days, you qualify for this. So what if that condition's not met? We have 2 other cases we have to handle, right? They could have been more than 3 and less than 7, right? Or they could have been under 3 days. So we could say else if days is greater than or equal to 3. And we'd say in that case, take off the 3-day discount. And then we don't have to do anything for a day count less than 3, right? There's no discount to apply. And in that case, our base cost is done. And so note, it mattered which order I put these statements in. You know, imagine that I had if days is greater than or equal to 3, applied the 3-day discount, and then I said else if days is greater than or equal to 7. It's pretty clear, right, that when I started my execution at the top, I get here and it says days, let's say the number of days was 8. If I had days greater than or equal to 3 first, that would actually enter. It would be true. And so it would apply the 3-day discount to an 8-day example. And that's not good. So order matters. Keep that in mind. And then finally, all we have left to do should be to return the cost. And so here's a nice case where you could see public and private together. My personal preference, always put the public material at the top. Make it easy for people who need to refer to your class. They don't care about your private methods. Ideally, they shouldn't have to worry about it. That's supposed to be like your scratch pad where you work to get the results that you need. They just want to see what is available to them with your class. So put public things at the top, private at the bottom. That's my recommendation. If you work with a team, they'll likely have their own standards and follow those. So I'll go ahead and test mine to see if we got this. There's the green. We'll run the larger attempt. Good. I'm ready to submit. So hopefully you agree this is more readable. You know, even somebody who doesn't work with code, I think, could look through this and have an idea of what's going on. And it's not that you need to meet that standard, but it's just a point I'm making about how easy it is to understand something that's going on. It might be you that comes back 3 months later and has to figure things out. So do yourself a favor. One other point with this too is that imagine that you referred to the 7-day discount in other places in your program. If you define a constant or a variable for it this way, you can change it in just one place and it automatically gets updated everywhere you need it. So if there were 10 more of these, all I have to do is say, oh, we're running a really good special where the 7-day discount is now $70. And then I just change it in this one place, and every bit of logic that refers to this name pulls in the 70. So hopefully it's clear that that's an additional benefit to this sort of approach. And yeah, let's go ahead and submit. I will say one other point. A lot of times with the if-else, we kind of look at doing the ternary operator, and that runs into some complications here because we actually have 3 cases. You have days greater than or equal to 7, then you have between 3 and 7, and then you have between 0 and 3. So you're kind of dealing with 3 cases. You can do stuff like that, but it gets more compounded and not so clear. So I wasn't interested in doing that here. Okay. I promise I'll submit now. Okay, and then yeah, just go ahead and take a quick scroll through, see if there's anything you can learn from other people's code. Like they went greater than 6 instead of greater than or equals to 7. I like the other way better, but this works just fine too. And they didn't use the minus equals, they wrote it out, that's fine. And see how you get sort of the compound ternary operator. To me, this is ugly, but if you're a one-line Wally, a one-line Wilma, maybe that looks great to you. It looks stuffy to me too. I like spaces between the operators and the operands. That looks really cramped to me, but some people like that. Again, compound ternary, ugly, UGLY. So they sort of reverse the order of the checks. I'm not seeing anything that's really life-changing for us, and that's fine. You're not always going to get that, you know. They used a dictionary. That seems a little bit overkill in link, things like that. I would call that overkill, but maybe that inspires you to look something up. So I'll call it here. Hit me up with questions. If you can give likes and subscribes, I appreciate that as well. Thanks, guys.